Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast with your host, Tracy Hayes. Best of the best. A real producer is in the studio today. She's a military wife and mom-preneur. She has relocated 8 times in 10 years. She has a degree from the University of Florida we need to talk about. She is a founder of Anchored Real Estate Group and has assembled a very strong team. In 2018, she was awarded the Rising Star Award by the California Association of Realtors. She's gone from rising in the West to rising in the East here in Northeast Florida. So let's take a chance with Allison Chance and welcome her to the show.
Hi.
Hey,
that was a great introduction.
Thank you. You like that? Let's take a chance. I had to come up with that one.
Yeah, so it's funny when people talk to me, they always are like, you should do something with your name. And then I had a seller in California who gave me a gift, and it said it's the best chance you'll ever take. And so now I have that like hanging up, and it's just it's sweet. Yeah,
take a chance with chance. I mean, that would go with that. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, definitely.
So, Allison, I always get the show off to kind of get to know you. You know, where are you from?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Florida. I was born and raised in a small town called Leesburg, Florida. So grew up on a couple acres of orange groves and lived in the same house my entire life, which has drastically changed since in my life now. I lived in a very small town and just kind of got to experience, I feel like, a childhood that most of us don't get to experience anymore. Like, definitely not my kids. My daughter was born in Hawaii and my son in California. So we've already been all over and lived in a bunch of different places. But yeah, I grew up there and went to school at University of Florida, as you mentioned.
Right.
So
after graduating from the University of Florida, because I said we were going to talk about your degree because it was in there. I actually wrote it down here. Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Studies. What made you choose that? What were you looking to do?
Yeah, so I think when you're young, you just really have no idea what you want to do.
That's true.
You know, the movies portray things to be something that they're not. And so my goal was to be an event coordinator and wedding planner. And I did that. When I went to University of Florida, I chose that degree for that reason, not realizing that it was a very specific, thing that I could do.
Right.
So part of my degree was an internship, and so I did an internship where I worked in catering, and I think that honestly, that job and that internship shaped me to be the person that I am today.
Right.
If you've ever worked in hospitality or any type of restaurant industry, it is a rise and grind. I mean, very, very difficult job. And so I think that, instilled a lot of things in me as a person. And, it's funny. I loved what I did, but it kind of became... the work became not as fun, right? And so I personally want to do something that I love, just like you do, I'm sure. And so it was just kind of an easy transition that I was working in Jacksonville, and my husband and I got orders to Hawaii to move there. And so then I was pregnant with my daughter, so I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to take a break from that. And it was just, it was kind of the time to make a pivot and go from there.
Right. Well, it's so interesting. You're episode 45 of my show, and I don't know how many, other successful agents, as I think everyone who's been on the show, is success at certain levels, some greater than others, but definitely movers and shakers in Northeast Florida have that restaurant hospitality background, and all of them say the same thing that you're saying. They take those paying their dues, so to speak, and that's a tough lifestyle in hospitality.
Yeah, and obviously everything that we do is working with people, and that also trains you. I mean, I was working with brides and mother of the brides, and sometimes even the grooms, where this is like the most important day of their life thus far, usually, and so the stress levels were very heightened. And obviously in this market, I just read an article this morning, in the entire United States we have less than 500,000 homes on the market, and it's just, we're in a very stressful time for buyers. And so we work with a lot of military families who have a great affordance of the VA loan, but unfortunately 3 years ago, we could get their closing costs covered and we could go in under
Right.
list price and we could, hopefully get the wood rot repaired to get a clear WGO.
Right.
But now it's
a battle.
It's a battle. And so just getting under contract is just the first step. And then we try to work backwards as best as we can.
So you saw yourself really in that event planning and hospitality, but obviously your relocations, because I guess you got married.
Yeah, I met my husband at the University of Florida, and so I met him, and the first night that I met him, I was like, oh, I'm going to marry, I told all my friends I'm going to marry this guy, and then sure enough, we ended up getting married, and he went to officer candidate school up in Newport, Rhode Island,
Right.
and then we got married, and a couple weeks later, he deployed for 6 months on my birthday, so... I'm 22 years of age and kind of, your whole world turns upside down. And
Right.
so that's one of the other things that has shaped me is just becoming an independent person and like learning to do things on my own.
That's something I didn't think about. And of course, you mentioned your military wife and so forth, because obviously that wasn't his only deployment. What challenges do you go through? Because at that time, obviously, you didn't have kids yet.
Yep.
But then I'm sure there was other deployments where you do. What do you do to prepare for that?
So, the deployments are rough, but I honestly think that what's even tougher is picking up and moving to another location. So, for me, I started in real estate in 2016 once we moved back from Hawaii. My sister's a commercial real estate broker down in Miami, and that was seeing kind of what she did, and I really enjoyed it, and it was something I was always interested in. And so
Right.
I did all of the Florida licensing while I was in Hawaii, like literally with a baby in one arm and typing on the other side. And so when I got back to Jacksonville is when I, got started in real estate. And so then after being in Jacksonville for about 3 years and having to move to California and everything I had built in Jacksonville, I had to start over. And,
Right.
I was in an area, Monterey, Pebble Beach, Carmel, of highly, so many realtors, no inventory.
Realtors, the stars.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was just so different. But, I think that has been more of a struggle for me because one of the things that I am fueled off of is community, and it's one thing I try to foster with the new people that are coming in.
Right.
One of our, mottos is that, you really do become our family. I feel like whether they've, joined my Bible study or they've, need recommendations for doctors. I mean, we have to put ourselves in their shoes, and I've been there where
Right.
you move to a new place and you don't know where to go for anything. You
Right.
don't, and so just having that experience, I think, has been really helpful and eye-opening. And some of the girls on our team have military experience, but Blair doesn't, and that's a perfect example of just letting the civilian world know of how we operate. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So when you moving out to that kind of area, I mean, was it a challenge because of the different clientele and the community that you're talking about? Because obviously a totally different price point.
Yeah.
From that standpoint. And then, compared to what you have built in Jackson, did you feel yourself kind of like behind, in a hole, so to speak? Did you have to get out of it?
Yeah, I definitely did. So we arrived in the summer of 2017, and we knew we wanted to have another child, but, we were just kind of at the mercy of when that was going to happen. And so I found out I was pregnant with my son, and I had already started doing a lot of the California licensure because, of course, there was no reciprocity. They basically said, oh, we expedite your application, but that literally meant nothing. So
Yes.
so I did all of that. And there were many times, full disclosure, that I, sat down and cried myself a river and said, why am I even trying to do this? I mean, I think if you want to be good at anything, you're going to question yourself because, I'm very confident in what I do, but I want to be the best that I can be. And so you just struggle with, okay, well, can I be a mom to my kids? And I'm going to be
Yes.
exhausted. I'm going to be sick being pregnant. And so my goal that year was to sell one home. And once I got out there, because I still had to finish licensing and all of that. And so I think I closed the first house out there December 27th of 2017. So like I just made that.
Right.
And part of the way that I kind of broke into that market is giving back to those who serve. And that's really something that I pride myself on. We give back a portion of our commission to anyone who serves,
right.
Whether it's military, law enforcement, teachers, nurses. And so that's really something that we've prided ourselves on because we know how tough it is to be in public
right.
service, especially in COVID times.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, it's just doubled down on it.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Bible study, and then you mentioned something else there. I want to dig a little deeper in.
Mm-hmm.
That you felt challenges. You were brought you to tears at times because of those challenges, and I think a lot of people. I won't say a lot. I don't like a lot. That's why we read these personal development books here. I talk about it on every show, but that you have to push yourself through some of these things. He did not make it easy. It's not plucking fruit off the tree, and everybody. I think if we were never challenged, we'd all just be fat and walking around naked all day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That there's challenges being put forth in front of us to make us better, make us better people, make you a better real, whatever it is that the destiny that he has for us, the path, as John Maxwell believes everyone has, and I agree with him. He has a path for us, what he wants to take. Now you got to figure out what that path is and the challenges and break through those walls and break through, have some times where you are crying.
Yeah, and I think that the vulnerability is really good, and it helps create an open conversation for other people who are wanting to get, a lot of military spouses don't work because they see themselves in a place for 2 to 3 years, and they don't want to take the plunge to invest all of that time and energy, and then they look up in 20 years when their husband's retiring, and they almost feel like they lost a piece of themselves. And so, I'm hoping...
Is there a high divorce rate after... Is that when they come? I hear a lot of challenges like where they're deployed all the time, and then all of a sudden they come home and they're like, we're better off.
I think that there's a high divorce rate after everything because it is a very hard lifestyle. And when you talk about deployments, if I have someone who wants to see a house but I only have childcare until 6 p.m. then, either I'm getting another sitter, the kids are coming with me. So there's definitely, the military technically owns them, right? So if they need to be somewhere or, they have to work on a holiday, they don't get off like the bank holidays and, all of those things. Right. So yeah, I definitely think it's just a different world that we live in, but it's a really, really good one too. And, I fully believe that, God introduced me to my husband to shape who I am today because I grew up in the same house my whole life. So this military life has completely shaken me, but also changed me for the better.
Right. So before coming to Anchored, you obviously you must have joined a brokerage out in California and so forth. And now, as the founder of Anchored, what are some of the things you took from your path? Good, bad, and different. What are some of the things you avoided? What are some of the things that you're like, oh my God, that's a great idea, and you've taken to Anchored?
Yeah, so out in California, I joined a small boutique brokerage, and she was also a military spouse, so it kind of just was a perfect, once again, I called her and I said, hey, I want to join your brokerage, and she said, sorry, I'm not taking on any agents. She had left Sotheby's to start her own company, and she's like, I'm not interested in training somebody. And then I met with her, and she changed her mind. So I learned a lot, and, it was a very different market there. I mean, this was, 3 years ago, but 2-bedroom condo, $500,000. And so I sold less homes probably, and, the volume was higher, but it opened my eyes to so many things that I didn't know here. I mean, California, the forms, the headaches, the things that you have to go through just to sell a house, it was definitely not easy. And then learning all of that new and everything. But I think for me, one of the things that I took away is, I strive for I'm a perfectionist, which is not necessarily a good thing, but just to strive for 100% satisfaction. And we know that we're not going to get that, but I think in all of our business, that's what we want. We don't ever want to be too busy that we lose sight of why we're doing this, right? And I think in this business, we can always look at, numbers and volume and all of that, but then we also have to really remember, like, this is a person. This is their largest investment, where they're going to spend most of their time. And so I think, just that perspective of just giving everything. And if I can't, then I don't want to do it. Right. Like I want to stop before I've given away too much.
Now, someone who is starting out, maybe they're not married, or maybe they are married and their spouse not making the income where basically you're really working to put the food on the table, to really drive your lifestyle. To me, and I don't know if you agree, has a different attitude than what you're talking about. Because I believe, personally, I know I have evolved over time, and really in the last couple of years, I could see myself going from, hey, I'm out there every month. Oh my God, I got to make a sale because I want to bring my portion to the table. I want to make my wife proud of me, right? And now with the volume that I'm doing in the pipeline I've created, I can sit back and start to fine tune those things. It's not out and try to grab every orange from that tree every day. I can pick the good oranges from the tree.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like you kind of, because your husband, you had that coming in. You knew what the military was providing. You knew what was coming in. It gave you more of a freedom to be more selective.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously building my team, that's really important, because my team is a reflection of me, just like yours is too. And so really just, I'm not here to look to have, 100 agents like Ryan Serhant. Like I want to, we're one of our mission statement is founded in excellence, grounded in service. And we want to maintain that satisfaction. And I think that, as we build our team, I know just since becoming the founder of Anchored, there is a lot of behind the scenes that have to happen to make everything run smoothly. And so I have seen myself take on less, buyers and sellers but then again, I'm helping my agents who are trying to, make money and live their life too.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, in the leveraging other people is not a bad term. People leverage other people all the time for all sorts of things. You have a dream of a very successful team. You're leveraging other people's work as well as doing your own, but their success is right in front of you every day. You're trying to make them as successful as you are.
Yeah, and I think as a single agent in this market, it's very tough if you are, if you're not a team and you're just you're under a brokerage and you're just showing homes by yourself. I don't really know how, if your volume is high and you're working with several buyers at a time, you can't be in 4 different places at once. And so one of the great things about our team is we really do work as a team. And so we kind of divide and conquer. And, one of the agents is at something for me this morning, because since we had the podcast. And so just really, when we talk to buyers, that's something that we mention, my entire team, Brandy, who's my transaction coordinator, has been in real estate for a long time.
I was going to talk a little bit about your back office staff.
Yeah, so Brandy has been with me for a very long time. So I call her the glue that holds everything together, because she does all of our transactions and coordination and really just makes sure everything is in line. And she actually used to work for a lender back in the day before she had kids. She has a lot of knowledge in that. And then Blair came to us from actually the Peabody in Memphis, and when COVID hit, she was furloughed. So she decided to take on a new career. So she had never been in real estate before, but she had been in sales. And actually, I met her sister through church. And we met when her sister was buying a house from me, and I sold their house as well. And she said, hey, I want to get into real estate. And a lot of people say that, right? You know, but then they don't realize
there's actually work to do.
Oh my goodness, right? And everything you learn in the course has nothing to do with what you actually do, if we're honest. And so Blair joined my team in December of last year. and she closed out the year with 18 homes that she sold and over
Awesome.
6 million. And so, you know, I think one of my struggles is when I do get contacted, you know, from the internet or, you know, leads come in, they do ask that question, well, am I going to work with you or am I going to work with one of your team members?
Right.
And so for me, I'm a yes person. So trying to develop that, you know, elevator speech that I can assure them that they're going to have access to me and my experience. But, you know, anyone really can open a door to show, and we're all on a team together working
Right.
for the best interest of them.
Right.
Because if you don't get into a house, like within an hour of it listing, you're probably going to lose out. So Blair has really allowed me to regain a little bit more of work-life balance. I have a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old, and so that's really given me a lot of ability to spend more time with them. Which, at the end of the day, the numbers are great. You know, the paycheck's great, but you know,
you can only go because I mean I'm always going 100 miles an hour all the time. I have to. I'm constantly trying to figure out how, you know, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy great people like yourself, and that's the industry we're in. You know, I can do podcasts until I run out of people to talk to, but you know, working on the loans, I want to come in and I feel like, you know, I don't know if that's just the testosterone. I mean, I'm a male and I got to do something. So I tell my wife, don't tell me something's fixed broken, because then I've got to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's that go, and then at some point you're like, okay, you know, checks are coming in, the bank account looks good, and you're like, okay, I got everything over. You know, I need to take I need to take time out, because especially got kids.
Yeah.
And mine's are 11 and 8, and I'm like, you know, they're now of the age where we can go travel and they're going to remember we were there, and they're going to remember those things. And I you know, really have less than 10 years to go and knock out some of those things before they're flying off on their own, you know? And so, yeah, you have to kind of step back, and
you have to put it in perspective. I know, like, so the whole, like, you have 18 summers with your children, you know, from when they're born until when they go off to college.
Right.
And obviously, summer, even though I feel like January feels like summer right now with the amount of, you know, transactions we're dealing with, it's insane. But, you know, summertime is historically a busier time for us, obviously, because everyone's moving before school starts. So it definitely is something that I try to remind myself probably on a daily basis. And, you know, that mom guilt sets in, and then I'm kind of like...
Well, then they start getting involved in all these activities.
Yes.
And, you know, I got Boy Scout camp, and you got this. My daughter likes to be involved in drama and plays and stuff like that. And they're doing this and that. And it's like, okay, where can we find this pocket of time where if we go away, we're not going to miss too many practices.
Yep.
And
divide and conquer. And so then sometimes you're like, I haven't really talked to my husband in a couple days, or we haven't really gotten to figure out what we're doing. So yeah, that's definitely crazy. And so then we also brought on Kelly in May of last year. So Kelly and I met in Monterey. So when we were in Monterey, California, our husbands were doing, her husband's active duty as well. We were doing, they were doing naval postgraduate schools. So they got masters on the Navy's dime, which once again,
that's great.
Obviously, military life is hard, but there have been a lot of benefits, and that's one of them. Is now he has a master's, and so Kelly, you know, reached out, wanted to get into real estate. Funny enough, we actually met through MOPS, which is Mother of Preschoolers, so through our church. So once again, just, you know, how this all happened and came together has just really been divine, you know. So Kelly came, and she is in the Nocatee area, so she's kind of, you know, handling our St. John's people and becoming an expert in that. And yeah, it's just been great. She has children as well, and so totally, you know, we're family first. And I really hope that I always, as a leader, exude that, because no is an answer. And you know,
and I just wanted to tap on you. You know, getting the master's degree. I graduated from the Citadel, the Military College, South Carolina. So I have a lot of friends who, you know, put their 20 years in, and, you know, colonels and so forth. Or one of my classmates actually is running the ROTC unit down at Emory-Riddle. And you have to realize the technology, and obviously if you're managing people, some of these guys are managing, you know, a couple thousand people depending on their rank and so forth. And they need to be not only educated, but I mean consistently trained in leadership. It's not just something because they were, it just falls in because they're wearing the uniform. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a code of conduct that they have to have, but also if they want to be great in what they do and so forth, they're consistently being educated. It's just powerful education that they are getting. So when he does retire, if he wants to go pick up of course, a lot of them are picked up by private contractors all over because of that training that they're getting. It's
a training that I feel like is invaluable, you know, and he advises me a lot too, because, you know, just it's always nice to have another perspective or another set of ears to kind of bounce something off of.
Right. How to handle a situation a slightly different way, you might get a better result. So leading into that just leads me kind of in my next question. Obviously, you confide in your husband, as I think we all do in our spouses one way or form or another. But is there someone in the real estate realm who you look up to as kind of your go-to person when you get challenged?
So, you know, I don't really have one. I need to develop one. I've been to several events.
Other than Ryan Serhant. You said you follow Ryan.
Right, and Frederick. I love them. No, but there isn't somebody that I can think of off the top of my head. I was at an event where Sarah Rocco spoke and was really just impressed by. She actually said, get a month or a year, a 2022 calendar, and
she's like booking the president. I've tried to get her on the show. I'm going to continue to nag you, Sarah. Hopefully you're listening. But go ahead.
But it was funny. She's
very well respected.
She's very well respected, and just kind of where she's taken her business in a very short time. And you know, I think she had said something. You know, schedule your entire 2022. This before it even hits, like, you know, your vacations and your time off. And it's true, because in this industry, if you don't schedule time off, you will work 24/7 and it's not sustainable. And so I really admire her. And she had said in this, when she was giving this presentation, that she would absolutely, you know, sit down with anybody. But she says a lot of times she meets with people and then she tells them what to do and they don't actually do it, which, you know, it's that follow through. And that's really what it comes down to. But no.
Do you feel, just to kind of dig into that a little bit, because I've had some coaches on, talked to people who get coaches and have had coaches, or even maybe looking to get a coach. And if you've reached a point where you're I imagine you're sitting in front of Sarah because you've reached some sort of lid. And that's a John Maxwell thing. The lid. You're like, hey, I am working 24/7, but I'm making the same amount of money, and I'm working 24/7 because I want to get to this over here. But so you go and look for that coach, and then not to do what they're asking you to do. Now, you may disagree and say, hey, let me go hire this coach. I like his angle. I can do that. I can understand that. But I think a lot of people, as in life, not only just in real estate, they want to do something, lose weight, whatever it is. They're told what to do, and I don't do that. Yeah. You know, so how bad do you want it, right?
Exactly. And I think that we just, you know, we just put things on the back burner, because it's like, I think you have to take one day at a time, and you have to look at your schedule and say, okay, what do I have to accomplish today? And then sometimes you look up, especially with kids. I mean, even though your kids are a little bit older, just, you know, focusing on what matters. But I think investing in your business, I mean, it's something that we have to do. And, you know, we have to spend money to make money, as we know.
I'm trying to remember the number that, because you were talking about, you went and saw Sarah speak, but you know, and I always talk about being involved at the boards and so forth. But I trying to remember what the percent. I think it was like at least 3%. I think it was the number. I'm not mistaken. But you know, of your income, to invest 3% in taking a course or going to a convention or somewhere and listening to other people speak, or whatever it is, personal development. Maybe you buy the 3% of your income in books. I don't know, whatever it is. But to invest that back in yourself. And I see it a lot in the loan officer world. Unfortunately, they're waiting for the company to pay for it. Like, dude, they're only going to pay for so much. They're going to give you so much training. And then in the real estate world, you have no company to look for. They're not paying for anything. You got to go get it yourself. Yeah. It's out there, though.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, a lot of our business comes from our sphere of influence, which I love, because someone referred us, and that's how we're working with them. And so it kind of takes out that element of not knowing the person and trying to have, like, not sell ourselves, but, you know, it's not this cold person that we're trying to, you know, form a relationship with, who when we find out on the back end, they just wanted to get into a house. They already have another agent, which is what we get with Zillow and stuff. So it just is a little bit of a warmer feeling when you actually are working with someone who, has been referred to us.
You brought Zillow up.
Yeah.
Or do you guys buy Zillow
We
leads?
do.
You do buy some leads. Okay. So, I mean, what percentage do you think of your business? Just ballpark of your percentage of your business?
Very, very small.
Yeah.
But then just when I think, okay, let's take our Zillow down or let's change it, we get it.
Isn't that odd how that happens?
We actually have one closing tomorrow.
Right.
But, but at the end of the day, I think that the best way to build your business is being yourself and meeting people. And for me, as an extrovert, I love that. I mean, we met at the Real Producers event, which I'm so glad that the Lunsfords brought back the magazine. That's awesome. Yes. And
I've been plugging her for where the next event's going because I got some ideas.
Yeah.
We actually had lunch last week, but she wouldn't quite disclose it to me yet.
No, their events are always awesome.
Yes.
But I think, just meeting people, establishing relationships. I just went to an event for Side, which is the backside broker part of Anchored, which we can talk a little bit about.
Yep.
And, I met someone and then I've got a referral coming from California.
Right.
And so just little things like that where we can really just connect.
I think, and I know in the loan officer world, because obviously we, the great thing us is we're not, we can do purchases, but we're also doing refinances. People in refinances could be a whole plethora of things. People are doing renovations, putting a pool on, whatever, or they're just getting a better rate in terms. So we have a few more in the mix, but I think it's for every, 100 people that 10 of them are doing something with their mortgage or real estate in any course of the year. So how many people are you touching? How many people are you regularly reaching out to? I mean, I asked you the question earlier, what are some of the things you took from some of the other brokerages? What do you in your, I'm going to call it because they're all ladies. I mean, and I don't know if Daniel put up the picture there. If they just say the blonde girl's going to show up the show, that's they're all there. All of you.
We've been called Charlie's Angels before.
I was going to use that term, and when you look at your picture, that's exactly the thought that went in my head as well. Yeah. But I had Allison's Angels. Allison's Angels.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
We'll change it to AA. Allison's Angels. But like for that agent out there who is trying to build that circle of influence. Maybe they're young and they, because we have a lot of successful agents like 25, 26 years old. They're doing really well. What do you do, or what do you find is the greatest return on investment as far as that regular reach out, whether birthday card? What are you guys doing at Anchored?
Yeah, so you mentioned 25. I mean, I'm 33, so a little bit older, but I'll tell you the secret sauce at social media. And it's people sometimes I want to throw my phone, right? Because you're over it, right? But, my sister has vacation rentals in North Carolina, and I kind of started helping her with some of the social media, and someone then is now renting her house because I shared it. And and then I get a call, and it's like, oh, well, we saw you sold a house to so-and-so, and they shared it on Instagram. And so, I think that's honestly why these younger agents are really knocking it out of the park, because you can be at Panera or Starbucks and and social media, there's a lot of, it's perception, and a lot of it's not reality. But, if they can post a picture that they are, selling a house, and they get immediate credibility with their follower. Yep. So that is one thing that I think the younger generation is doing really well at, and what we're trying to do as well. Right. And, just kind of keep it interesting. What we found is people love seeing like model homes and inside of homes. And so just sharing that and doing some walkthroughs and whatnot. And then I literally, in the back of my car, have swag. We did Christmas ornaments for all of our buyers last year. And so one of the things that, and I say
So you're going back to everyone you've ever done business with. You're consistently touching them in one way. Everyone has their little creative way of doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, I love to give. I love to give gifts. I think it's another reason why we give back. And so I'll be driving by Trader Joe's. I'll go in. I'll get a bunch of orchids. I'll get a bunch of bouquets of flowers. I'll just drop them off if I'm in the neighborhood, or I'll be driving somewhere and I'll send a text reminder or just check in with somebody. And I think that has really just helped my business, because genuinely I want to do it. I actually really do. Or just, a $10 Starbucks gift card. We also are really big on reviews. So we have over, I think it's like 115 or 117 5-star Zillow reviews. And, it's definitely, it shouldn't make my, heart flutter, but
it's another reason to post something. It's another reason to reach out, put that posting, hey, I got a 5-star review from this client, type thing. But you made me just think of an analogy, and grasp this with me. I've never used this one, Daniel. Take this one here. The old school, the old school agents were like Sears and Roebuck, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember when you were a kid getting that big catalog in the mail. I mean, that thing weighed like 5 pounds, right? Yep. And now they're out of business, more or less, because they stuck with the catalog instead of putting that catalog online. Why couldn't they have been Amazon? They could have easily been Amazon with all the distribution around the country. You think about that. But they stuck to that, and you have to evolve into the technology. I'm going to have Stevie Hahn here on again in a couple of weeks for a different style show. I had her on just like you. And she literally said she was putting up Instagram posts, and her friends like, oh my God, you're killing it. And she hadn't even sold her first home yet. And so was she lying? No, I don't think she wasn't saying she was selling home. She was just being present on the social media.
Exactly. And it is one of those things, when you evolve and you accept that you have to start doing that, then you have to foster it. And so, because if you go like silent, then people think something happened to you, even though you're probably just really busy. And so that's actually one of my goals this year, is to hire more support staff. And being a type A perfectionist, it is very hard for me to relinquish responsibility to somebody else. And I do all of our social media. I do all of our marketing, essentially. And it's very, very time consuming. And so I'm really hoping that I can find someone that I would trust to do that, because it is just such a big part of our business, and it represents who we are. And it is for the whole world to see, and it's not going away.
If you're doing it right, and I'm not saying that I am doing everything right at all, but I'm going to share a little story. I think I shared with Daniel last night. I got a call from a customer totally out of the blue, actually, just a person totally out of the blue, from a video I did 2 years ago. It was like a 2-minute video on doing a pool escrow loan. So when you buy the house, you want to add the pool. We do it subject to that pool being added. What's the value, and lend you the money to build the pool. She had a different issue, unfortunately, but she saw my pool escrow. She Googled pool escrow or went on YouTube, and my video popped up, and she called me. And that's the other thing. So if you're doing these videos, whether it's just you educating or whatever, you can consistently be contenting it. So it's not like you have to do it every day, come up with something new. Yeah, after you probably finish a round, you can go back and start over again. And repurpose it to Instagram versus YouTube versus whatever.
Bring some different outfits, change, do some video. The videos, I feel like a lot of my buyers are first-time home buyers, so it's a lot of education, but that is where everyone is going, to Google.
And don't think they're not Googling you. Yeah. They're going on and go. So if you, I think any social media course that they're at any level, they're telling you, Google yourself and see what comes up. Because that's what your buyers, especially when you're dealing with out-of-town buyers. Or I guarantee, if you're dealing with military relocating here, that spouse is on there Googling you to see who they're working with.
It's funny. So in addition to being a real estate agent, I am a contributor for Jacksonville Mom, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's like the largest parenting resource in Northeast Florida. And so, I'm friends with a lot of people and post pictures of my family. And so my husband will go to the grocery store, and people will say hi to him, and he's like, I have no idea who these people are, but because they see him on social media, they're like, oh, your son's so cute. And it's just funny how we cannot even really know someone, but yet we know somebody. And that's something that, once again, it's not reality, probably, but...
Yeah, many agents like yourself, I really only know them. Actually, when I was trying to find guests and getting the show going, as it's picking up speed, because I'm getting better and better. Not that I haven't had great agents on before, but I'm getting more consistently and more of a quicker response to come on the show because they've seen what was going on. But at one time I was just going, who's doing the social media? Who's on social media? And I was inviting them in because they understand the power and add this, the show to their repertoire.
And we can all be learning. I mean, I just mentioned I listened to Dave Heekin with Landmarks
show
podcast with you, and I texted Dave and I was like, oh my gosh, you're just an inspiration. You know, it's really cool, and we can always be learning from one another. And I think sometimes this industry fosters like a competition thing, but like really honestly there's so much business out there, so it's nice to be supporting one another and learning from one another.
If you're working from that, if you want to compete with Zillow leads, I guess that's your competitive arena. But when it comes to Circle of Influence, the people are far different than the people I know. You grew up in Florida. I'm from the Northeast. We know different people. Now, the world is small, and there are probably only a couple steps away, or I guarantee a lot of my friends, because going to the Military College of South Carolina, I could probably rattle off names as duty stations, and your husband probably knows them, and they may interact, but they're not crossing, and that's just a beautiful thing if you're working your circles.
We get a lot of business where someone. I mean, I actually have a closing this week. My husband and the buyer went to officer candidate school together. They haven't talked since 2010, 11.
Right.
But you say the person's name, and if it it makes sense, and then it's awesome. It always feels really good when you can reconnect with someone.
So let's dig in a little bit here. From the standpoint of, let's talk about Anchored.
Yep.
Okay. What made you, because I was trying to put the dates together because I know you went to California and came back. So you started your own brokerage originally. It's been before Anchored. It was called something else, if I interpreted your bio correctly.
Yeah, definitely. So we Anchored launched in September of last year. So we were, a team, the Allison Chance team, where we were operating under another brokerage. And it has always just been a goal of mine to have my own thing, and Anchored was an...
Always? Or when did you reach a certain level?
Probably, that's a good point. So I think... I don't know, just...
When your confidence level reached high enough and, you knew what you were doing?
And not only that, just to, it's kind of like you have your logo and your stuff and, it's your baby. And honestly, that's what Anchored is. And once again, it's totally a God thing, but the name Anchored was not available. There was a trademark on it and it wasn't available, and I was super bummed. And Side, which is the company that helped me launch Anchor and our broker, they gave me all of the other names under the sun, anything that, because the Anchored name is an ode to the military,
Navy,
because my husband, that's a lot of our
understand.
business, but it's also, we make little signs at closing, home is where the anchor drops, and, being anchored.
There's a whole circle there.
Exactly.
It is it is a great.
It was and then just developing the logo, and I mean, I've gone crazy. Like, I have baby onesies for our customers, and that is the fun part of my job, is doing all this stuff, which I need to, probably hire somebody else to handle that, because I need to be doing bigger and better things. But that's what I don't ever want to lose sight of that. Like, I want to be the one that gets to do these things, Exactly. And so it's such a struggle, though, because, you can't do it all. So I have to.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because it's something that I'm somewhat dealing with. That you reach a certain level, you have the experience, you understand how to. Our goal, your job is to make the phone ring. Whatever you're doing, whether it's massaging past clients with your gifts or so, or whatever it is that you're the marketing and creating that phone to ring. After you get the phone to ring, there's a lot of other people that can help you out there. You don't have to carry it all the way to the goal line. And it's the same thing that I deal with. And we have reached a point in our maturity in our business, you much earlier than me, because you're so much younger than I am, but but our minds are constantly thinking of those creative things to make the phone ring. And then and as you get more experience, your success rate is higher, right? There's because I'm sure you sent out many things that didn't even work. We all done that. But then when you start going, oh, but that's working.
Yeah.
That's where also I'm getting a lot more attention on that. I'm getting a lot more attention. These things are, my past clients or my circles of influence. I'm getting regular calls from them now because I've been doing whatever I've been doing for inconsistency, just like social media is in there. And that's what it sounds like. You're at that same point where you want the creativity because you're getting the phone to ring, which is what, if you're going to put your name on the sign, that is what your job is to do.
Yeah, and just, that quality over quantity, which I think the reason we have the referral basis and network that we have from our previous customers is because, honestly, we get people who contact us and they've been working with another agent and they don't respond, they don't communicate.
Blows your mind, doesn't it?
But it honestly, it makes our job even that much harder because now we're not just starting off fresh. We're having to explain to them that we're different and no, this isn't going to be how it's going to go. And so I'm always like, I don't, and then it's stressful because this is a small industry. You don't want to essentially steal from other people or however you want to call it. But
there's no need to.
No, I always tell people, if you're having an issue, a communication issue, just talk to your agent and see if you can work through it. But, there are going to be times where it's just not a good fit, or even in your business, someone has a lower rate and they're going to go with a different company or something, you have to be okay with that. And I think that sometimes it ends up working out that it wouldn't have been a good fit. So it's actually better that,
Trust me, if they have a lower rate, when it's all over, you're going to want them to pay the higher rate. Because the pain that you're going to go through, the time, the lack of communication, because that's all you're doing. When someone is undercutting you, it simply means they're not making as much. They may be even busier, and that means there's less time for you because they're selling it so cheap. But the reality is the average person, that person isn't working 24/7 because the person working 24/7 understands their value because they are willing to put it all out there for you. And you need to pay for that. There's a reason why you get what you pay for. There's a reason for that phrase.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. And it's funny when we give back the portion of our commission, a lot of times, people almost don't believe us because they're like, well, what's the catch? And there really isn't one. So it's tough because we're like, no, because in today's day and age, there usually is a catch, right? Like, well, we're going to give you this, but we're really just padding that. It's kind of like, when you go somewhere and you, like, I don't know, 20% off coupon or something.
Yeah.
Well, actually, everything's just marked up 20%, so you think you're getting a discount, but so with our rebate that we give, it is 100%.
Yeah. And that's an angle that you've chosen because that's the livelihood you've chosen with you and your husband, and the dedication, and that's the angle you've chosen. That's the marketing campaign that you've gone with, because it's not only just a marketing campaign for you to get clients, but it's also something your heart is on.
And I think we all, in the industries, we all should choose something that we can support because I think it's so important, to give back, and we can put our head down and focus just on our business, but I think life is so much more than that.
Okay, so you've been in the business now, 6 years, right?
6 years.
6 years. What looking back on 6 years, what would you have done differently? Real estate, focused on real estate specifically. Is there something you did like, oh my God, I look back, I laugh at it now, but I should never have done that?
So I think it took me a really long time to develop like thicker skin and the ability to say no. I'm a yes person, and so I think just knowing that it's okay to say no, which is one of the things I'm really trying to instill in my team. I don't know.
You're talking like your client says, hey, I need to go see this house in 30 minutes. You were like, boom, out there saying no. I've got an appointment. I've got some other things. I can see you in 2 hours.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. Because, and then, or you clear your schedule and then that person doesn't show up. It's like, sometimes I felt like I was giving my attention to people who I'd never even met before and, disregarding something else because I was just so hungry to meet that person, but they really didn't,
Tip to clients out there, if you want the best are generally going to be a little busier.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you have to be willing to work with them. They want to work with you, but you got to work with them and their schedule if you want the best.
And it's funny because some people will reach out and they'll say like, hey, if you are taking on any more buyers, we'd love to work with you. So it's like the fact that they even have that mentality.
That's lovely.
We want our customers to think that they're our only customer. We want them to feel that way. But the reality is that if you are producing, you have more than one buyer at a time. So
what would you, so I went with something you wouldn't do, or you did or didn't do what is something that you've done right the first time, or you're just, it's just something in whatever, it's a marketing campaign or something that is really just, this is what we do because this works every time?
I think just, I don't know, like one of the things I tell people is, you know, this is a sales job, but I promise you I'm like the least salesy person ever. I feel like I've established myself with trust and just I'm not looking for the next sale. I'm actually really genuinely looking to help. And I think that that's really important that my team exudes that as well. I just think
your next sale is in front of you. Right? I mean, that person's hopefully going to refer you the next buyer or seller, right?
Yeah. So I think just remembering who I am, why I did what I did, and, you know, this is so silly, but I love getting like mail in the mail. So one of the things that I'm super old school about that I think has been super beneficial is to, you know, write notes, you know,
send thank you cards.
And it's funny, one of my so I have a business manager.
Tip right here, people, note this down. I'm telling you, go ahead. She's not the only one.
So my business manager's like, hey, you know, we can get this program where it will like look like a handwritten note.
Right.
And I'm like, that is like my worst fear. Like, I know that's not who I am. And so honestly, you know, that kind of keeps me back to my biggest fear is that we get too big and we lose sight of who we are.
Right.
And that's scary to me because I don't want to lose what we have and what we've created and that personal like feel good experience, you know?
And the thing is on the thank you cards, I know one of the coaches I work with, they talk about send out 5 thank you cards a day. Now, you don't have to write a dissertation on there. Just say, and really they've sent me more or less thank you cards because they're demonstrating what they're doing and just saying, hey, I hope you're having a great day. You're awesome. You know, if something like that, you're touching somebody top of mind. You obviously you throw your business card on there, type of thing. But that card, however it's done, however you do it, is touching someone because of the mail. Email is the worst communication style. I mean, we've all fallen back on that. I'm telling you right now, if you're trying to get people through email, it's not. It's worse. Face to face, text messages up there, but the actually snail mail is above email now because people have gone old school, as one agent told me.
No, I mean, I definitely agree with that. We actually sent out Christmas cards as well, and I mean, that was something I put a lot of energy into, but it was really important to me. You know, I wanted to touch our people, and you know, whatever it took.
Sometimes you got to mass produce those.
Yeah, we did mass produce those, but yeah.
But I think it's important. You know, everyone gets, who knows, I'm sure some people get hundreds of Christmas cards.
Yeah.
But it is part of the business to let you know, hey, you're on our list. We're here. Again, another touch, top of mind type situation. Because, I mean, you know what rips your heart out is when someone says, oh, I didn't realize you were still doing that.
Yeah.
You know, type thing.
Yep, exactly.
So, I just want to let you know in my notes, tell us about your team, Allison's Angels. I just want to let you know I had that in there.
I love it.
So let's say we've got a new agent out there who's listening to the show, trying to pick up some tips from you and your success. Can you give us 3 key things that you would do if you were coaching a new agent?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously both Kelly and Blair obviously started as new agents. So I definitely am really big on that social media presence. You know, even if you aren't maybe, you know, listing that home, take every opportunity that you can, share from within our company anything, you know, that you can. And really, so I walked into a room the other day and someone's like, oh, I haven't met you, but you're the real estate lady, right? And I'm like, this is what you want. You want people to hear your name and think real estate. They want people to think your name and think Jet and your podcast.
Right.
The other thing is, take every opportunity that you can get. There's a lot of things in real estate that maybe we don't want to do, like open houses, because we think that those might be a waste of our time, or, door knocking or something like that. And if you're not comfortable with those things, that's one thing, but really just taking every opportunity that's given to you, because getting out and meeting people is the way that you're going to grow your business.
Would you say whatever it is that you're going to do, it could be door knocking. Mm-hmm. Maybe some people would love to do that. Whether it is open houses or it's social media, which I think everyone should just be doing, but choose it.
And stick with it.
10x it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I completely agree. And I think it's a little bit harder for newer agents, but also to focus on an area that because I'll be honest, Jacksonville is huge. If you've never been here before and you come, like Blair came here from Memphis, Tennessee, so she didn't have, any really working knowledge. Mm-hmm. And the only way to learn is to get out to, the builders do a really good job of having these, broker lunches, and then you meet other agents. And then when you're on that side of the transaction and you're writing an offer, we actually just had one where we met them at Jacksonville Real Producers. And so we had that connection. Now, There were 48 offers, and unfortunately our VA buyer didn't get it. Right. Imagine that. But
that is a sin. That's a whole nother subject we've talked about on this podcast before, but go ahead. I totally agree.
You know what I mean? Like, we had that connection, and so we weren't just kind of another agent. We had that connection because we met that person. Yes. And I think that that's something... and I get it. In California, I was super pregnant, and I was like going to all of these events, and it's really hard when you're new to see the I don't know, the work now is the reward later. And that, as a young person, as someone, I've been in those shoes, it's tough to put yourself out there and all of that. And so, and
people always want the instant gratification thing. And it's like, maybe it comes quick for you. You don't know, but you got to start making the steps. I see a lot of people, and let's take the podcast realm. Mm-hmm. The average one is like 3 or 4 episodes. There's many, if you go on there and pull up and see their podcast, they did one show. Mm-hmm. They say there's all these thousands of podcasts, which there are, but there's thousands of them that were actually 1-2 shows, and they gave up. So whatever their goal or that they were trying to accomplish with the podcast wasn't there for them. But also, as you're talking about in the marketing, in the consistency with social media, or it's consistency with your door knocking, or it's consistency with you got to go out there and do it. And, obviously I've talked to many agents, and you're talking, obviously you had your husband, you knew that income was coming in, so you had that peace of mind that you're still eating tonight. Yeah. So it makes it a little easier. In that case.
I have insurance, which, for someone who doesn't have a spouse that has, insurance included in their job, it would be very tough to be an agent. Yeah. So, and then this is a fourth thing, but, like you said, anyone that is...
I thought we were on number 2. We skipped... How would we get...
I think so. Well, number 3 was get to know your area that you want to like that you want to farm. For us, like, we do Zillow in Jax Beach and Neptune Beach. That's one of the areas. But because we have the military bases, we're in Yulee, we're in Green Cove Springs, and so you need to know what's there and what's coming up too. Yes. Like Park Group buying land in Green Cove. That's kind of a big deal because that's the next
the next thing to explode.
Yep.
Yes.
I know, and it's totally such a cute little town.
It is.
It's really, really precious. But and then I would just say, like you said, not the social media, but Google, right? So if you're trying, and we get Zillow leads, okay? Well, if the Zillow buyer goes on your profile and you have 1 review and you've sold 0 homes, you automatically are at a disadvantage. And not everyone's doing that, but take every opportunity. Send them a note with a QR code asking them to do a review. You can't make it much simpler than that. And I found, my transaction coordinator, or we have like an automated email system that will send out requests for reviews. But just like you said, emails get buried. I feel asking for a text message through a text message has been the best way for us. They can tap it, they can do it.
2 seconds.
And that's that.
Yeah, that's actually a great tip right there. Text message the review.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. All right, we're gonna finish up here. What do you love so much about what you do?
Oh gosh, I think just so we do a lot of sight unseen, right? So the buyer never sees the home prior to closing. So sometimes they don't even see it prior to closing. They close remotely or whatever. And so I think for me, just the fact that someone is willing to put that much trust in us, I mean, that is just something I can't even explain, right? And so just to know that we are making a difference is really important to me. And I mean, I know all of us as agents, we've all done things to make an experience better, but I feel like for us, we want 100% satisfaction. You know, we had a buyer go through the walkthrough, it was fine, and then they came back and maybe there were some contractors in there and it was dirty. Okay, we'll get it clean for you because we want you to be happy. We understand that you have been in a hotel with a newborn. I had someone close on a home and we couldn't get the garage doors were back ordered, so they couldn't close. So they were living in a hotel with a newborn, a 3-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And so just, you know, you're just I think we love helping. We love being the boots on the ground here for the people who can't be here. And honestly, with COVID, I mean, a lot of our buyers weren't here. And then from the sell side, I think, you know, helping a seller, I've had a lot of military families who, you know, purchased a couple years ago and sold now, and they made a life-changing amount of money. You know, maybe they've been driving the same car since they got out of boot camp, and now they can buy a brand new car and just kind of see their lives transform because they took the risk and invested in real estate. Because some people don't want to do that, right? They want to. I mean, I think it's a known fact that most millennials rent. So just to see that, you know, people are trusting in us. You know, I get the question almost daily. Well, should I really buy a house right now? And honestly, I mean, I think yes. I did last year. I bought another home, my husband, and I also have some rental properties. But at the end of the day, what's the alternative? You want to pay rent? You want to pay someone else's mortgage?
Exactly.
So, unfortunately, you know, it's tough for our military because they get a set amount of money every month, and that's what they get. And, you know, there's no houses to be found within that. So, you know, I think just helping people become more financially sound. And sometimes it's tough for me because, you know, we're not financial advisors by any means. But, you know, just kind of being a mentor to
any of these people are going to tell you buy real estate.
Exactly.
Every one of them has real estate in their portfolio, whatever they do.
Yep.
I think one of the great testimonials, I think, that you just mentioned, and it may even just come from you, I think this is a great video for you, is explaining how so many people have entrusted you in selecting the neighborhood based on what they're telling you, finding obviously the right home, and you know those things they're telling you, and they're moving in, and how many have been so satisfied. Not that you prefer that method, but so many people have entrusted you, and it made you just, I mean, obviously whatever you're doing it right, and you're getting a great respect, and I'm sure those people are referring other people to you.
Yeah, and you know, we skirt a fine line when it comes to neighborhoods and those type things, because you know there's certain things we can and can't say. And so that's tough because obviously you can go and look at crime reports and you can go and look at schools and whatnot, but not being here. So we just, honestly, I usually do like a video of the house or FaceTime, and then we'll do one of the neighborhood as well. And, you know, just kind of say, hey, you've got a Publix about 5 minutes away, you know, just giving the facts, of course. But, and obviously
give them the links to let them make their own judgment what an A-rated school means.
You know, what your version of a safe neighborhood may not be 100%, my version. So
100%.
Trying to, you know, remind us of that too. And obviously everyone, I tell this is another thing I tell people, buyers specifically, at every price point, whether you're spending $200,000 or multi-million, there's going to be something that you're probably not going to get in this market, right? Like there's going to be something that you wish, okay, I wish had another bathroom, or I wish this backyard was bigger. And so I think reminding people, because I think it's really easy to be like, oh, well, if I had $100,000 more, I would get this, you know? And then, but the reality is that there's probably always going to be something on your list that
there's buyer's remorse every day.
Yep.
All right, let's wrap up. We're going to go to our 2-minute warning questions. I mean, this has just been a great conversation. We've gone an hour here already. Now, I was actually looking at 40 minutes. So we're going to wrap it up, but we just really great stuff, Allison. And I think anyone listening, you know, hopefully there's someone out there who we want to inspire, and has seen what you're doing, and that, you know, what you've done is, you didn't just climb Mount Everest and took you 33 years to be able to do that. You've done it with just applying and listening and learning, and even with the challenges of moving across country and relocating 8 times in 10 years. Is it more important who you know or what you know?
Who you know.
How have you applied that? What would you?
I mean, I feel like I talk to people almost daily, and they're in a position, they got the job because they knew someone, or, think about it. How many people come to us for referrals of a painter or a cleaner? And so...
Or your church, right?
And it's honestly, your link to business is really through Realtors. And so... that's relationships. That's our business. And so I think you can be super smart. You can read all the books. You can have all the degrees. But that really means nothing if you can't share it. And, of course, people use it to their advantage in a way that probably isn't always the best. But I do think that it's just the day and age that we live in.
Right. What's on your travel bucket list? Not that you haven't been a bunch of places.
So I did. Hawaii. Sometimes I share this as my interesting fact. I've been to every continent except Antarctica. So I grew up in a family where we didn't get Christmas presents. We got to travel.
Oh, cool.
So one Christmas we're spending it in Africa on a safari, and then Great Wall of China. So that's one thing I really love. And my husband didn't really travel a lot growing up.
I like that.
I would love to go back on a Disney cruise. So it's tough to get my husband back on a ship since
I'm not chalking it off as a bucket list thing, though.
Yeah. Probably Thailand. I'd love to go to Chiang Mai and ride elephants.
Okay.
Which
all right.
I probably will get a lot of negative feedback on, since it's kind of not fair to the animals, but
Who do you think would be a great guest on the show here? We're going to take out Sarah because I'm already trying to get a hold of her.
Yeah. Let's see.
And it doesn't have to be a real estate agent. It could be just someone in our industry, because I'm obviously, home inspectors.
Yeah,
whatever.
I was going to say, we work with Ryan Tebow with the First Coast Building Inspections and House Scan. I think Kurt is really awesome. I met him. Stephanie, his wife, she's also in real estate, Stephanie Tufts. I met her because she was a babysitter, and it's who you know, right? She was a babysitter of mine way back in the day while she was going to UNF, and then she got her real estate license, and, her parents started Keller Williams at the beach.
The Tufts name popped up. Now
he's, I think he is a professor at UF in the real estate school. So once again, it's just crazy. So when I moved back to Jacksonville, I started working with Kurt for home inspections. And, like anything, we like to have options for our buyers. So we give them options and whatnot. But, Kurt's really built a really huge, kind of like a landmark, he's really built this
reputable.
Crazy, this crazy huge company. So I think a home inspector could really be good. And especially since you guys have the relationship with Dream Finders, being a preferred lender or the lender for them is talking a little bit about new construction and, maybe waiting to that 11-month mark to do a home inspection, because a lot of people spend all this money on the upfront inspection, but I'm like, you won't actually...
I openly can't endorse that, but I do understand what you're saying.
Okay, got it. Yeah, no, but, just...
But that is a good question.
I think it's great to have other people on that are not just real estate professionals that really support our business.
Yes.
Insurance rates went up. We use Chris with Brightway. He would be a great one.
How important is the important thing is a lot of people don't understand how important the roof has a huge factor in Florida.
That's the first thing I look at. Yeah. Honestly, the roof, the WDO for my VA buyers, and then water heaters too. Yeah. If a water heater's over 10 years old and it's inside the house, it's an automatic. And the Challenger panels, electrical panels, that's a $1,500 fix. So it's you go into this and then you already know that a seller says no repairs, and you're like, but I already know this is going to be, I feel like I should become a WDO inspector, because that's really the first thing I look at, because no seller wants to make any repairs. So when I get there, I'm like, is there any WDO? Because then I know if it's a dead end. I just had one cancel last night because of WDO.
Oh, no. God, goodness gracious. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you
I'm
so much.
glad you came on the show, and I think it's been informative for everyone, and we went way beyond my normal time, but that's
Sorry,
okay.
I'm a talker.
Probably the longest show I've gone so far, but it's been great. I think you are definitely, like I said, there's someone listening on there that hopefully is going to be inspired by you. Hopefully you get a phone call. So what's the best way to contact you, whether it's a seller or just another agent, maybe wants to talk about your team?
So our website is Anchored RE Group, so like Anchored Real Estate Group, but just the RE and then group. And then we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and then Zillow. If you just Google Allison Chance Zillow, you'll get our profile with our team information. And then, any emails that come through will come to me, and
all her social media links and so forth will be in the show notes. So please like and share the episode. It's been a great one for those podcast listeners out there. I appreciate it. Allison, thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Yes.